Hey guys, how's it going? So those of you who saw yesterday's video probably knew what you were in for today. We've got some trees to plant because yesterday we went and picked up what I think is going to be our last tree load of this year. I don't remember the last time that in November we were able to go get a big bunch of trees. I mean, the weather has been so favorable. You will see right now that it's overcast, kind of misty. It was foggy this morning and it rained for most of the day yesterday. It's beautiful, but for the next week or so we don't have any freezing temperatures. It gets cool, but not freezing. So I think it's a great time to get stuff in the ground. So real quick, I'll run back over what we have here. We've got 3 Hollywood junipers. We'll link yesterday's video down below if you want the stats on all of these. We've got 2 of the blue Atlas cedar. We've got 3 of these beautiful Vanderwolf pyramid limber pines. And then we've got 2 giant Leeland cypress. Love these. This one back here is the other blue Atlas. And the best part about this project for me is that all I'm really doing out here is placing them. I think they're gonna grab the tractor. In fact, I hear it. Aaron might be coming our way. They're going to pick up a tree. We'll kind of figure out where we want it. They'll put it down and then we'll do all of them. And I think Paul and Aaron are just gonna tag team getting these planted while I pack dahlias, because I need to get them packed. I don't want them to sit in the greenhouse for another day. A couple of other things while we're waiting for Aaron. This time of year, I mean November, might seem like it's too late to plant, and I think the growers, like professionals in the industry, would tell you the least risky time frame would be to plant like 6 weeks before your average first frost date. But if I went by that, I'd be planting my last things in August. That's way too early. And I feel like plants are better off in the ground than they are wintering over in nursery containers, and we continue to plant until we can really no longer dig a hole. And the other thing is that we will be using a starter fertilizer today, and that's totally fine to do this time of year. Here he is. We use the Biotone starter fertilizer, which focuses on root development, not upward growth. You wouldn't want to fertilize it with something that's going to encourage the plant to shoot out a bunch of new tender growth right before it gets cold. So Biotone's perfect, and the roots will continue using it just very lightly during the winter months because they still are active, not as active during the growing season. And that fertilizer will still be present in the area when spring hits and it heats up, and they'll have something to utilize and feed off of right away. Aaron, are you ready?
These are big root balls.
I know, I was just telling everybody how I kind of am getting out of the hard labor of this job.
Yeah, well, they're big root balls, but you know what, we're gonna plant them high.
So it's not so bad.
No, it's not gonna be so bad. I'm surprised they didn't fall down.
I know. Well, we didn't have any wind,
yeah,
I don't think.
That's lucky.
I think the hardest part is getting that wire cage off of them. And you guys, we do remove that. I know a lot of people, and even people in our area, that plant their trees with the wire cage still on. But for those of you who might remember our huge blue spruce that was planted up by the Versailles garden, when it fell over, it still had the wire cage on it. And Aaron and I were talking about it, and we think that that tree was between 35 and 40 years old. Like, it had the wire cage and it had the baling twine around the trunk. And I think that was probably more of a problem than the wire cage was, because the roots were going through it, but it was still there. And I don't think that that's good.
I think the wire cage is probably okay to plant. I think you're 100% right about the baling twine. I think that's got to go because it'll girdle.
Yeah, so if I get in here, yeah, see that? You got to make sure that twine is cut from around the trunk. We take all of that off, and then what we do is we take bolt cutters and just try to cut off as much of the cage as we can. Sometimes there's like a little piece left here or there, but we try to remove most of it. The burlap can stay. That will fall apart.
Here's a good example of the burlap not really mattering. Look at all these roots.
Oh yeah, right through
on
there.
This. They're already growing through the burlap. So at this point, really all we need to do is take the twine off.
So now we're just going to place these things, you guys. Now I was thinking one of the Leeland cypress we could use behind the fireplace, but I don't know if I want to make that commitment yet.
Sure.
They get kind of big. I mean, I can show you on our way to do dahlias. I'll show you one of our only Leeland cypress that we have. It's huge, and I think that might be a little too commanding for the spot right behind the fireplace. So we might just plant everything out here, and that way we have a winter to kind of look at that space and think about it. And it might be the one we put back there. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna get these placed. Here we go. It's looking gorgeous.
It's gonna look so good as these grow up.
I know. Oh, I'm so excited.
5 years.
Yeah. I mean, even right now it's beautiful. Oh my goodness. We're gonna actually skip the 3 junipers today because they are in containers. We can keep them watered by the greenhouse, and then we can tackle those maybe in the next few days. 7 large trees like this. I think that's enough for one day. So let's walk through. I'll show you where we put them all. Okay, let's start on this end. I'm gonna go through this kind of quickly because I'd like to come out and do more of an in-depth tour once they're planted. But the first one we have here is one of the Leeland cypress, and oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, it just fills that gap. Now, we are giving quite a lot of room for tree canopies here, but we do want them to overlap a bit because we want this to be kind of a solid wall in the end. So, you know, we do plant them fairly close, but not super close, if that makes any sense at all. We're saving a spot back in here for a nice big blue spruce. So the next one is the Vanderwolf pine. And because we had 3 of those, I wanted to space them sort of similarly so that it looks like a trio without being a trio. And I think it's beautiful. We've got this one set in front of some Spartan junipers. So we've got a nice color contrast. Also the Royal Frost birch with the purple leaves, so pretty. And then behind this Parotia, kind of between the pine and the Parotia, we have a blue Atlas cedar, another Vanderwolf. It's nice that those stay a little bit more narrow so we can tuck them in a little bit more. Further down, we have another Leeland. I mean, look at that color. We've got the sort of yellow gold from the hornbeam this time of year anyway, and then the green Leeland, another blue Vanderwolf, and then we do have the scarlet oak back there, which in the fall would be nice and red. And then our last tree is the blue Atlas cedar back in there. One of our neighbor boys has a bunch of his friends over, and there's a wood pile on their side of the fence that they're playing on, right by the blue Atlas cedar, so I'm gonna respect their privacy and not go back there until later, but we'll do a more in-depth tour of this whole area once Paul and Aaron are done planting. So that's what they're gonna do while I go try to get all those dahlias packed up. They should be dry and ready to roll. On our way to the dahlias, I told you I would stop off and show you our Leeland cypress, and this is it. It's so big. I think I would guess it's like 25 feet wide at its widest point, maybe 20 to 25 feet. I'm not sure how tall it is. From this angle, it looks about as wide as it is tall. Let me go around this way, see if we can get a backed up look. It's gorgeous. Yeah, if you get back further, you can see the leader up there. But it's a beautiful tree. I just think it might be a little bit too big for the area where we want to put it. I think I need something a little thinner for that space. And the weeping Alaskan cedar, they just kind of grow in a little bit of an irregular habit. Usually you can see a lot more light through it. It's not quite as dense. So that might be the way we go. I don't know. Oh, here we are. It's nice and warm. Okay, here are all the dahlias that we have dug so far. We went through the other day, dug 2 of our rows, 2 out of the 7, and then we cleaned them. We put them in here to dry. And then I came in here day before yesterday, went back through them, removed any damaged tubers, cut the stems shorter, and I just felt like they needed a little bit of extra time to dry because especially on like some like this right here, where they're a little bit thicker, they just needed more time to dry out. I didn't want to add any extra moisture into our storage kind of situation. So I think they are good to go now. And they've all been properly labeled. There are a few tuber clumps like this one right here that have a question mark. So I'll probably be giving this one away to somebody who wants to experiment. But most of them have a label on them, which is so nice. And I did that either with some red flagging tape that's wrapped around the base, or some of them that I separated, I just use a Sharpie and you can write straight on the tuber. And this is how we're storing them right here. So we use our bulb crates. These are the crates our bulbs come in. They're breathable. That's just the whole point. You just want to use something that breathes. Lined with burlap, which also breathes. And then we use vermiculite as our storage medium, and I've added just a tiny bit of water to where it doesn't feel wet at all. It just feels kind of cool. Like you can see I'm rubbing my hands around in it. None of it sticks, well, basically none of it sticks to my hand. I can squeeze it together. No moisture comes out. It doesn't clump together. So that's perfect. You can see some down in here. The one thing I really like about vermiculite is that you can reuse it. I know up front it's more expensive than some of the other things that you can use, but it works so well for us. Thankfully, I didn't have to try a whole lot of the other methods in order to find this one. We just landed on the right one for us. And you can just dry it out, put it in bags and save it for the next year. So like right here, this is one of our bags of vermiculite. Whoop, you can see it in there. We just store this up in the loft in the barn and bring it out when we need it. So what we'll do is take our tubers, like let's just take these. I put just a real thin layer at the bottom, and we're gonna just nest our tubers in. We're gonna make sure they don't touch one another so that each one of them has a nice layer of vermiculite around. So I'm gonna do layer 1, and then we're gonna cover over it with a little bit of vermiculite. Here we go. I've got 3 layers in our first crate already, and I need to mix up a little bit more vermiculite, but you can see how they go in. It's pretty slick. So in this tub truck, I've got, I don't know, 5 or so inches of vermiculite, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of water at a time. I just don't want to overdo it. So I'll just go in there and mix it. If you see it clumped together like this, looking like cat litter, that's way too wet. Gotta really mix it in there. There's a tuber from last year. Oh, that's about perfect. No moisture comes out of it when I squeeze it together, and it doesn't hold a form, which is perfect. I can run my hands around in there. It's not really sticking to my hands too much. Perfect. Now that our first tub is full, and you want to make sure not to overfill, so you can see like the edges here of the container, and it's down just like an inch or so, because then you wouldn't have the ability to stack these one on top of the other. But I am going to just flip the edges in like this. Tuck them around. And then I've got one more burlap bag, which these are reusable too. And I'm just going to squish this in around the edges as best I can. That's perfect. So now in storage, I can stack these one on top of the other, and it's a really efficient use of space. And the whole thing breathes, everything usually does really well. So we are 1 crate down. I don't know how many more to go, but several. I got 2 crates packed up, and then you can see I had to cover the rest of the dahlias and run inside. It's been a little bit of a weird day. Samantha is under the weather, so I've been inside on and off throughout the day, just hanging out with her. But she's in a warm, cozy bath right now, and Aaron's up there with her. So I thought I would run out here before we lose light. Once you see me pack one dahlia, you've seen them all. It all looks the same, the whole process. So I thought we would take these 2 crates into the root cellar just so you can see where they're going to be living for the next few months, and then we will run out and look at the trees because they did get that done. So we'll at least get to see that finished today, and I will come back out and do these today. I'm not going to let them sit in here for any longer than today, but it'll probably be by the light of my string lights that I have up later on this evening, and that's totally fine. It won't take me too long, but just didn't want to lose light so that we could go look at the trees. And I don't know how heavy these are. They're definitely not light, but they're doable. I'm going to put them on here and back them up to the barn. Save me some steps. Oh boy. Oh, we don't want that to fall off. That would be bad news. Okay, a little bit difficult to get back here. Paul is in the process of building some shelving for the root cellar that will make it more efficient. I'm going to need these. Root cellar right here, currently at 42, 90% humidity. We got to figure that out. We have a dehumidifier in here, so this is it right here. You can see it's a 6x9. We've got tons of potatoes, tons of onions. We've got some of our winter squash. We've got I don't know what's in here. It's probably something I never planted. Yep, gladiolus in here. Lovely. And that is working right now. So I bet you what happened is it filled up. Right before he left, he probably emptied it and started it again. So they're just gonna go in stacks right here. So there we be, 2 crates of dahlias. See how they stack one on top of the other? So nice, but it can also be a little bit hard to check on the status of your dahlias during the course of the winter when they're stacked one on top of the other, because it's just a pain. You have to unstack every single one. So what Paul is doing with the shelving unit is I asked him if he could come up with some kind of shelving that allowed us to only stack 2 on top of each other. That way we could access them a lot easier and a lot quicker. Okay, let's head out and look at the trees. I haven't seen them yet, so I'm really excited. Haven't seen them planted yet. Goodness. Okay, we're gonna approach this like we would if there was a lane in here. So the main lane will be right here, and it will go off this direction, and then we'll have a smaller, like a more narrow path go this way. And it will curve around through here, kind of like the south garden in a way. But I don't think we're gonna do it grass. Oh, I love the Leeland cypress. Like, it's hard to pick a favorite, but I just think that the structure is so pretty. And of course, starting with one that's that large, that's always super satisfying. Oh, so now we'll kind of go over the rest of these plants. You know, we planted the redwood there, which is not looking too hot. We're gonna give it till spring, we'll see what happens. We've got the Austrian pine right here. And then we've got the European white birch, which I've got one in the south garden. I just love it. The white bark and the green leaves in season, but then yellow fall color. The Leeland cypress, and then we have a crabapple of some variety. Is that a purple prince or a prairie fire maybe? I can't remember, I'm gonna have to look that one up. It's not royal raindrops, is it? I don't think so. Anyway, it's got really pretty crabapples on it. Look at those, they're gorgeous. And the color's nice too. Then we've got a hornbeam right here. This is a columnar one. It still gets 20 feet wide, so 10 feet from center. But I think that's a really strong structure right here. Then we've got a choke cherry, the Canada Red choke cherry. We've got a vanilla twist red bud, which might have to bump out a little bit. once we saved the spot for a blue spruce right here. And I think we're gonna put another one, pan slowly, right over here. One toward the back, which I'll show you once we're back there, and then one on the interior, because there will be, you know, the lane that goes through here and then another planting bed before the lane, the main lane. I need to come up with better words for things. We have a Warpleston sweet gum right here. Oh my gosh, the fall color was just phenomenal on this tree, and it lasted forever. Spartan junipers. Then we've got the first of the 3 Vanderwolfs right here with the Royal Frost birch. The Perotia, that's a Vanessa Perotia. And I think that one gets 28 by 14 or something. It's not a super large tree and they grow really slow, but they're really beautiful fall color. Then we've got the Atlas Blue Cedar, another Austrian pine, then another Vanderwolf, another hornbeam, and we've got the other Leeland cypress. Oh, they're so pretty. We need to put Christmas lights on those for sure. And then I love the placement of this Vanderwolf. It looks like it nested in beautifully right here. Just so pretty. Then we've got 3 North Pole arborvitaes. We've got the scarlet oak and the last Atlas blue. And I think we'll do another big blue spruce kind of toward, it depends on how we're using this. You know, we've kind of tucked everything back here because it's out of the way of everybody, including our neighbors. Like that's our neighbor's corner too, where they do their wood pile and stuff like that. So it's kind of, it kind of goes in this space, but we'll want to eventually have all that under cover, I'm guessing, but who knows when that'll happen. But I'm thinking a big blue spruce right in here somewhere, or maybe right in here. The layering is just beautiful. I wish you guys could stand here in person. I mean, honestly, it just doesn't show up in the camera like it does in person. Like the colors, it's kind of a weird overcast day anyway, but it's just so beautiful. I mean, we'll walk back this direction. The color along this fence line is so pretty, and I can't wait to come in with even more. Like we'll do a deciduous something right in here. It would be beautiful to do a hawthorn in here, like maybe a more columnar variety, but for some spring bloom it would be really nice. Probably some more red-leaved things as well along the way. But you know, you start somewhere and you just start kind of plunking things in and you figure it out real quick what you need where. There's our junipers. We'll figure out a spot for those another day. With the way today ended up, it was all we could do to get these done and hopefully the dahlias done. And you guys, that is going to be it for today's projects. Honestly, with the way today played out, I'm thankful that those 7 big B&B trees were put in the ground. It's always kind of, you feel that kind of pressure when you've got a B&B tree sitting there. They don't want to be outside of the soil, and if you don't have a way to hill them in, if you're going to keep them for an extended period of time, it's really not good for the tree. So huge shout out to Paul and Aaron for getting those all done and tucked in, and they look beautiful. They did a great job. And I'm going to head back to the greenhouse and get the dahlias all packed up. Either right now, I'm going to go check on Samantha real quick, make sure she's still doing okay, or later this evening. So I might toss the camera up unless it's too dark out, because I might be, you know, in there with just the little twinkle lights going, which it's very peaceful and very cozy, but I don't know how much you'll be able to see. Anyway, if I do get some video of that, we'll toss it at the end of this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next video.